In this video, we're gonna learn how to take a regular image like this and turn it into a video by separating the foreground from the background and adding depth and movement to any photos that you want. We'll also explore adding elements and layers and texture like film grain and noise to old vintage style photos. This could be perfect for documentary videos, podcast episodes, and YouTube videos, really any number of use cases to animate and use photos to storytell and add that extra oomph to your videos. And the extra good news is we're doing all of this in Canva Pro, which is super accessible, super easy, and only takes a couple of minutes for each one of these amazing photo videos that we're gonna create together. So come on, let's get to it. Okay, so pull up your Canva and get ready to have your mind blown. If you haven't tried Canva yet, just go to pss.media/Canva and you can sign up for free. You could try a lot of these features that I will be demonstrating for free, but eventually if you're serious about making some really cool graphics, you'll want to upgrade to Canva Pro. Animating photos is something that I think a lot of people overlook and don't take advantage of as a way that they can add easy bells and whistles to their edits and really raise the overall perceived value and enjoyment of their content. So let's take a look at my favorite ways to do it and the super easy ways to do it right here in Canva. Okay, so from the Canva homepage, I like to press Create Design, Custom Size, and 3840 by 2160. Those are the dimensions for a 4K video. So from here, we can upload any photo that we want to animate, and I'll choose one of Veronica and the pile of laundry. This one looks good. And now what I'm gonna do is actually scale this photo down a little bit, and then I'll copy and paste it by pressing Command C or Control C on a PC and Command V. And now I have two of the same image. So for the image on the right here, I'll click on it and you'll see that it's selected. And from this top toolbar up here, I'm gonna choose Background Remover. And look at that, it removed the background from Veronica. Now on this image here, I'll click on it to highlight it and select Edit right next to Background Remover. And I have these Magic Studio options. I'm gonna choose Magic Eraser. And I'm gonna use the brush instead of the click because the click isn't really gonna work for these clothes here. You see it's just gonna be clicking on little pieces of clothes. So I'll use the brush instead. I'll make the brush nice and big and I'll start with these big areas where I know I'm gonna wanna delete this stuff. Keep as much of the background intact as we can. We'll make the brush size even a little smaller to finish it up. And when you've selected everything, notice you don't have to be perfect. We can go ahead and press Erase. And you can continue to refine it again by selecting more areas and erase. And that's looking pretty good. So if I press the X, I come back to my design here, and now I can just grab Veronica with her background removed and plop it on top of the original. I can create a marquee by click, dragging, and holding with my mouse, and now I have both of them together like this. So now with Veronica selected, her layer, I can even crop her down a little bit so that I can see the difference between these two layers. I can now click on the Animate option, and I can look at all the different animation options that Canva has, and it will animate Veronica, but it will animate her separate from the background. The one that I like from this Animate list is Drift. Drift is the one I'm going to time and time again for this style of effect. And here I like to lower the intensity all the way, and you could go either right or up or down. What I like about the drift is it doesn't actually fade the image in to start with like the photo rise or the photo flow will. I just like it to be drifting. Then what we could do is we could also drift the background in a separate direction. Maybe we go up with the background, something like this, and we take that intensity down. Now down here along the bottom, if I click on duration, I'll see this more like a film editing application here in Canva. And now I can extend the duration of this clip out by about 10 seconds and make a 10-second clip, which will really show me how long the animation is gonna be and what it's gonna look like. Let's take a look. It's pretty cool and the way it kind of comes back together the way that it should. So what I can do now is I can actually click on both of them again and actually expand them beyond the canvas here. So the animation happens much more like this. Pretty amazing, quick way to bring your images to life and to add some depth and emotion. You could do this with any images you want, and here's where I think a lot of podcasters and creators are really missing out. Adding just a few more bells and whistles to your podcast episodes, for example, can really increase the value and the experience for your audience. Oh, and I'm not sure I introduced myself yet. I'm Steven, and this is Get Creative. Every Wednesday, we unpack the greatest creative media tools, both apps, but also equipment, so you can level up your content and see how accessible and how easy and fun all of this creative media has become. So don't forget to subscribe and come back every Wednesday to hang out. Many podcasters are already asking their guests that they interview every week to share a few pictures of them that they can use for maybe an individual episode artwork. But what if in addition to just maybe headshots or photos of your guests, you also ask them to send you more behind the scenes pictures or pictures that were captured of them doing the thing that they're going to be discussing in the episode? Here now you can take those images and very quickly in Canva animate the images in any number of ways. And now you have a dynamic little 5-second, 10-second clip you can bring in the edit that will now reinforce the story that your guest is telling and bring your audience into it even more. So I'm going to go ahead and download this. And when you download it, you have lots of different options. And look at this, we have 4K. So now we have a really cool 4K video that we made from an image. I barely touched the surface of other things you could do here, of course. You could add layers, overlays, other things to the image as well. And we're gonna cover that in our next design. So I'm getting historical and I'm getting documentary-ish. Documentarian?
Documentary-y.
And I'm gonna be making my first documentary style video here on our channel soon, so make sure you subscribe and come back for that. So for my historical documentary style video I'm making, I'm gonna be exploring the evolution of creative media and looking back as early as the 1930s and covering some of the media tycoons of that era. This is one of my favorite ways to animate photos, and it's in a documentary style. And when you're looking back at old vintage photos, you can also add things like film noise grain, film strips, or all sorts of cool elements that also come baked into Canva. Let's take a look at it. Again, to rinse and repeat, if I'm on the homepage in Canva, I can create a design, the big purple button, and it has a recent memory of my 4K video that I'm always using. Here I can go to my projects here, where I have folders, and I've set up a folder with a bunch of historical footage that I'm gonna be using. Let's take this classic photo of Jack Warner from Warner Brothers here, and see how we can have some fun with it in Canva, and really add a lot of dimension and story and a ton of fun extra bells and whistles to it. So first, just like we did in the previous one, I'm gonna shrink it down in size a little bit so I can Command C and Command V it real quick to get two of these bad Warners. I'll grab the one on the right side and again press background remover, and boom, the background has been removed. Now I'll come to this one and I'll choose edit, and we'll do magic eraser. This time I can select the click option here in the magic eraser, and I'm just gonna click on Jack, and I'll click on the little telephone he's holding. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no. Whoa, that was fast. I couldn't even get through the chorus. So he's gone, and I would say that it has done a fantastic job with that. Now, one other option you have in Canva, which can be really useful sometimes, is to actually expand your image so that it expands to the full wide format of a 4K video, for example. So if I pull this all the way out until it kind of clicks into place, and then I center the image, you'll see there's a ton of extra space on the side. So I can either maybe put a film strip frame in here or something, or even an old TV set or something, even though I think this picture may have been before the TV sets. But let's take a look at the magic expand by clicking on the edit button. And if we scroll over from this menu that's popped up on the right here, you'll see magic expand, picture of the ladybug. We could choose whole page and say expand, and it will generate some AI options for us that we can choose from. Let's see how it does. I'll hit the road, Jack. Oh, it did a pretty good job. So here's the first option 1, option 2. You could always generate new results if you want, see if it does a better job. Ooh, this one's really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and say done there. So check it out. Now we have the full wide background of this image here. And here's Jack Warner. So we can pull him up and now reintroduce him to the picture. Maybe we can even spin him around. We can do whatever we want with him here now in this picture. So we could click on animate here. You could do maybe an old TV that brings Jack in. I love this old TV effect. It also has a different speed option. Kind of cool, especially when we're in this old vintage era. Again, I really do like the drift. It's kind of my go-to. I just love it for all of these. And you can choose which direction. I'm gonna pull him over to the left, and I want it to be a slow movement. I think that looks a little more classy, a little more simple of an animation. And then in the back, we could try something similar with this back image. If we go to animate again, let's choose drift, and maybe we could drift it in the other direction. And we will have to make it bigger so that as it drifts, we never get any missing frames. Pretty cool. I'm not gonna make it quite so big because I think it's okay if we get a little of the white in it. We can also change the color of the background to black, which may look a little bit better if a little bit of the back pokes through. And now this is very similar to what we did in our previous design. But let's take it up a notch and add some more elements to this. Hey, sorry to interrupt, but trust me, this is worth it. If you're looking to build a pro-level video podcast studio without all the guesswork and complicated gear decisions, meet our brand new Studio Blueprint Builder. We're talking about an interactive drag and drop tool that helps you map out your exact room dimensions and customize our ready-made Canva templates to fit your space perfectly. We'll guide you through the best camera, lighting, and microphone choices for your unique layout, complete with curated Amazon links so you can shop confidently without the guesswork. This is the exact process we use to set up studios for top tier shows, and now you can do it too. So what do you say? You ready to build your studio? Head over to pss.media/shop and build your dream studio. Let's get you looking and sounding pro. All right, now back to the show. I'm gonna click on where it says Elements from our left-hand toolbar in Canva. And here, I'm gonna type in Film Grain Overlay Animations and see what comes up. I'll look under the Graphics category by selecting See All and check out some of these film grains. These are so cool. This one will just need to be rotated 90 degrees and then expanded. And what I could do with this film grain, I can actually place this layer behind Jack. So he still stands out, he's not getting grainy, but the background is grainy. So if you want to ever see your layers in Canva, this is a huge hack and you're gonna love me for this. So make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It's Option 1 or Alt 1 on a PC. It brings up a layers tab, like Photoshop, homie. So all you have to do here is actually drag this now under Jack, and now we have a little film grain noise between Jack and the background. Let's again go back to that Elements tab and look for that same film grain animation. And as we scroll down, let's see what else we can find. I really like this one too as a frame itself. We can expand this out. Now we can drag the whole thing down here in our timeline up to about 10 seconds. And let's see what kind of an animation we get from this. Really cool stuff, right? Now what we gotta do is name it Jack Warner. I hear he was a very angry man. We'll say download, and it says MP4 video, 4K. Why wouldn't you do 4K? And now we have a really cool vintage looking animation. Really cool stuff, right? Now there's another effect that you might be interested in doing when it comes to documentaries, or when it comes to photo storytelling, you could say. And that is, what if the subject that you are interested in is with a group of people and you want to animate that group of people by blurring them out and somehow emphasize your person? Well, there's so many different ways that you can do that using these same tools in Canva. But I gotta let this finish exporting. Okay, so let's go back home and let's try something even more crazy. I'm gonna say create design, 3840 by 2160. Let's go back to our folders again where we have these historical photos. And let's take this photo here of Harry Conn, which is actually a pretty flattering photo of Harry Conn. And let's blur this ombre out, because who is this ombre? Now you could always see what happens if you were to magic expand a photo like this. This is hilarious. When you magic expand this photo, it creates this weird AI machinery, and it added this ombre, which is a scary politician with a strange face. Who is this guy? He's very rubbery looking. This one here is really cool if it didn't mess with the guy's arm so much. What about here? Also pretty cool. If we compare that to the first image itself, you can see it kept the image itself intact. It'll kind of pop right over the top of what it did there. That's pretty cool. Look at all that extra information it gave us. And that allows us to zoom in on this a little bit more so we don't see too much of that weird expansion. And now we have more life. We have more of a scene that existed here that wasn't here before. But before I expand it, I'm going to make this one small again, like we've been doing, kind of the same process. Only this time we're gonna have to get a little more creative to separate Harry from this image. So when I say background remover, it'll probably do a good job of removing the background, but keeping both ombres here. But we wanna get rid of this other ombre next to Harry. So if I click on the background remover, again, it's now going to allow me to adjust the background remover even more. So I can just start erasing the guy next to Harry. It's as easy as that. Okay, now he's gone. Now I can pop Harry on top of this, and I've got a crystal clear Harry ready to go. Now I could do that same effect again, where I added the film grain and maybe have the film grain be behind Harry. So we really do try to keep him as our main focus. Now, a quick key that you could learn if you're a quick key junkie like me is Command Bracket or Control Bracket on a PC. Again, that's worth another thumbs up. Notice when I press Command Bracket while I'm selected on the film grain, the order changes. You'll see it's changing here as I press Command Bracket in my layers window, which again, you can access by pressing Alt or Option 1. So now let's resize these to the frame and let's get a basic animation before we try our blur effect. Do something like this, and let's go ahead back to our elements again, and let's give it a frame of sorts. I'm gonna go with this one this time. And this little square at the bottom will help to hide even more of that sort of AI generated stuff that we did. And I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger there. There we go. All right. Okay, so now what we need to do is find a way to blur this guy out. How we're gonna do that is by actually duplicating this page. Again, I'm gonna click on where it says duration from the bottom so I get this timeline like a film editing app. With this slide selected, I'll press Command D for duplicate or Control D on a PC. And then I'll expand the time of this out a bit. We'll make it 9 seconds or so. And now with this one selected, I'll press Option 1 or Alt 1 to bring up my Layers tab. And now with this layer selected here, I'm going to actually blur it out. Now this will also blur out the background. If you wanted to, you could also separate this guy from the background in the way that we've been doing, and you could play with him and play with Harry in any way that you wanted to. But I'll keep it simple here for this illustration. And just with this layer selected, I'm going to click on Edit from my top hand toolbar here, and I will choose the blur effect under the effects section. And I'm going to blur the whole image. Now you could just blur out what you want to brush. So if I wanted to, I could just brush out this ombre and blur him out, as you can see. But I'm just gonna blur the whole image because I think it'll look a little nicer. Something like that. So now the whole rest of the image is gonna get blurry, which will really bring my focus in on Harry. And maybe that's a little too much. So again, we can go in again to the blur effect. We could take it down a notch. Something like that will probably be really nice. Look how everything else blurred out except for Harry. But in order for this effect to work the way we want it, we're gonna have to create a transition between these two pages or these two frames. When you bring your mouse in between these two pages, we get two options here, two little buttons that appear. The first one is Add Page, and the second one is Add Transition. Click on Add Transition here, and Canva has some really cool transitions that you gotta check out. But we're just gonna choose Dissolve, and we'll make the duration for as long as it will go. So we have a nice slow dissolve, which is really gonna be dissolving between our unblurred to our blurred. Let's just have a look. Homeboy's starting to blur out. Homeboy's blurring. That is pretty nifty. So I'll press share, download, again, a 4K video. Here you will want to make sure that you're downloading both pages and go ahead and select download. So now we've created some really effective photo animations, and hopefully this has opened up your mind to all of the possibilities of any kind of photo you can think of in ways that you can animate it. All of this is so accessible, and of course you can use the elements in the existing stock photos and stock videos that come with Canva. Many of the things that I demonstrated in this video you will need Canva Pro to use, but the Canva Pro subscription is really worth it when it comes to content creation tools that you need a subscription for. And I always recommend Canva to all of our creators, even if it means maybe consolidating some of your entertainment subscriptions. Come on, you don't need Disney and Apple and Netflix and Amazon Prime. Or maybe you do. You got YouTube Premium too? I know, really cool stuff. And remember, this is Get Creative, a show where I am dedicated to get you out of your comfort zone, in front of the microphone, in front of the camera, making sweet content, building your influence, and unlocking endless opportunities online. So make sure that you check out this playlist here that I've curated just for you with the most recent Get Creative episodes, where you could dive into more equipment and more apps and solutions and hacks to really level up your online game.